All right, y'all. Bearder Bros Golf Show. Back after a week's hiatus. We were spending some time together this week. So I'm Rod.
Marcus.
It is my birthday today, 42nd birthday, getting long in the tooth. I don't know if that's worth
Happy
clapping
birthday.
for. Just one more revolution around the sun before we call this thing a sign off. So, I don't know. It's a weird age when you get past your 40s. It's cool, but it's also kind of sobering in terms of how life works. So we'll see, man. 42, as you call it, the Jackie Robinson year. And if you feel so inclined to throw something at the link tree or the cash
Help a
app
brother
or
out.
whatever, yeah, I'll run the banner just in case. Um, anyhow, so we took a week off. Just timing wise, there wasn't a lot of really just intriguing golf going on last week. We had the Rocket Mortgage Open. Really, the big story from that was Akshay Bhatia, Aaron Rai pushing for victory, and Bhatia coming down the stretch with the opportunity to win and or go into a playoff. Ended up three putting on the 18th green, 72nd hole to give it up to Cam Davis. Truly, truly heartbreaking. You could just tell. I mean, that the kid was
Yeah.
burnt, but stepped up to the mic, took responsibility, just said he was nervous, which is commendable to get in that position and still, of course, you get the immediate uh, comparisons to Rory leaving the U.S. Open without speaking to the press. I think that's super subjective and based on the individual, and I don't fault anyone for not wanting to hop in front of a camera, especially with the PGA not having any types of media obligations that they have to meet. So, what do you think about that moment and kind of how he faced the music? And then Cam Davis, like you said, the random didn't have that on the bingo card for that week.
Yeah. I mean, I guess a good word for it is one you just used. I mean, it was real sobering because, I mean, for the most part, I'm not saying it was his day, but it wasn't a lot going on to where he could have messed that up unless he did something like that catastrophic on the green, which is just really, you never want to see it go out like that. Nobody wants to see a tournament won in that fashion. The I mean, you saw the reactions from the caddy and Cam. I mean, they're literally like, I mean, dang, that's heartbreaking. I don't,
Yeah, no one wants
you
to win
know,
like that.
no one wants to win like that. But a win is a win. Cam Davis is now a repeat winner at the Rocket Mortgage, kind of, laying his claim to fame there. And as long as they're going to be at Detroit Golf Club, I think he'll have a good chance. Um,
Yeah, horses,
actually,
horses
Batia
for
is, you know,
horses.
yeah, he's young. I mean, he's already won twice this year. He'll have opportunities to win a third this year, and become an income and do some things like that. So not really worried about Akshay. And then, of course, just like you said, already was very honest about it. And I think that in itself is really uplifting for him and for fans of Akshay Bhatia, because I think it means he knows what happened and what he needs to work on. And I think that that's a good step going forward for him in this game. I think he'll lock it in a little bit more on those clutch putts, those short putts that mean a little bit more. And I don't foresee him, missing those putts like that again under that pressure. I think he'll be a little bit more acclimated, and I think it'll be, a better scenario for him. So, yeah, I mean, tough scenes, but I think he'll be okay.
For sure. Put this up real quick.
Thanks, Mom.
And appreciate it, Mom. Thank you. All right, y'all. So let's just fast forward to this week and Davis Thompson. I always want to call him Davis Riley, so there's too many Davises already on the PGA Tour. Davis Thompson wins his maiden PGA Tour event. Had a shot a couple of years ago at the American Express, just coming down the stretch, couldn't close it out. Went into the final round with the lead. It's how I became, familiar with him and his game. Kind of a stoic guy, but really got emotional after winning, kind of in going away fashion by 4 strokes today on the 18th
Yeah,
green, and just really let it all out. Just could tell he was had a lot of pent up energy and hugging his significant other there on the final green there. When he was in contention a couple of years ago at the American Express, the parents were out there with him. So good support system for the kid, Nike athlete. You know, again, just getting another one, getting his first victory, changing lives out here on the PGA Tour. Kind of getting, I wouldn't say fatigued. It's an interesting mix that we have these days with it's either Scotty Scheffler or kind of some rando these days. With
yeah,
the wins, it's all over the place. It's hard to, if you're a better on professional golf, you'd have a hard time picking the odds these days and figuring out who the winner would be with any sort of accuracy. We did see some decent names in the tournament that you would know. Jason Day showed up, Jordan Spieth. It just wasn't barren as you would expect from the John Deere has been in the past. What did you think about the tournament this week? I know I didn't catch a ton of it just because we were playing golf. The first day of the tournament landed on July 4th, so we watched a little bit. But what did you think?
yeah. I mean, course conditions look good. I mean, they play out there in Silvis every year, so I mean, TBC Deer Run really, just really looked like a nice track. I mean, and you saw it. Everybody was going crazy this year. It was a lot of low rounds. I mean, you saw it. The Davis 28 under. That's what's winning it. I mean, that's a pretty insane number, seeing as their par 71. Um, yeah, and I think this weekend was a really good statement for him in general because not only did he hit a few like long putts today, he stuck everything close and was bogey free last round, so Saturday. So he gave it to you both ways. He gave you a
Yeah,
62 bogey free where he was hunting flags and went straight for him. I mean, yesterday I saw a couple of clips. He hit one of the part threes. I mean, literally just hit this butter fall to the right, and it just crept up to about a foot and a half or something like that. A lot of tap ins, a lot of really really close putts that he really didn't have to work too hard for. So, um, yeah, I think he really showed us the full alignment of what he can do, and
yeah,
thankful for him to have the wifey out there for him and being an emotional support for him. Because just like you said, I mean, it seemed like he was really going through it and just finally had a chance to release it all. And yeah, it was a really good scene. And hopefully he can just like we said, have some momentum going forward and try to knock Scotty off his pedestal. But I mean, it's going to be a lot of work to do that. So I don't know how long it's going to take to do that, but at least for him, he's one step closer.
yeah. I think he's getting his Scotty Scheffler impression on with the Nike look, and I'll also go through his shoes on the what's in the bag. So
Yeah.
we hadn't done one in a while. Scotty's been wrecking shop and hadn't had an opportunity in a little bit to do a what's in the bag just because of the nature of what Scotty's been doing. And yeah, so let's go ahead and get into that bad boy and get our what's in the bag muscles stretched back out since it's been a little bit. So there he is, Davis Thompson. Um, Really, it was interesting because all the sites that typically do what's in the bag content, Golf WRX, I don't know, they didn't see this one coming. So like their most recent deal, there wasn't a lot of actual pictures of his clubs available through their website. And there's another website that just popped up recently. It's called WITB, the what's in the bag.com. And they just had
Hmm.
descriptions as well, not a lot of actual stuff. So interesting. It seems like they weren't really expecting this guy to do his thing. So he's rocking the Ping G430 Max 9 degrees with the Mitsubishi Diamana DF70 Tour X shaft. The interesting part is the Max. Typically, we've been seeing a lot of the pros rock the LST version, the low spin tech, but here he is
Yeah.
going for kind of the in between because they have the Max 10K, which is really set up for the amateurs. This is a little bit, kind of an in between size head, a little bit bigger than the LST as well. He also, before I move too far, toggles in the TSR3 with the same shaft in there as well. So depending on the week or feels, he's got a couple of different options with driver in the back. What do you think about his driver setup and optionality?
Yeah, I mean, two similar drivers. The G430 Max is really just top of the line stuff. Feel like the Max is more of a draw bias though. So I guess when he's really hanging it out right, throw the G30 Max in there. Um, help straighten everything out. TSR3, that's my driver, so I'm really always loving it. Even when I had a bad day on Wednesday, still bounced back and it did me right the next couple of rounds. So I mean, I really think at this point, the way the drivers are set up, it's all user error. If anything goes wrong, the drivers are just too good and too easy. And really, it's more of like a grip it and rip it, especially with the forgiveness of these clubs. So I think he's got two good models for that. And I mean,
Yep.
they vary enough to where you can have some options. And of course, when you're using the same shaft, all you need to do is worry about what's on the head. And that's, the easiest thing for him. So I think I like it.
Yeah.
I'm not unopposed to this, especially after what we talked about last week with Wyndham Clark, where he changes the loft and lie for every week just based off that
Right.
psychotic move. So this is nothing in
Right.
comparison.
Right.
Jeez.
Um, Yeah, he's a little more dialed in on what he wants in terms of options, a little more decisive. So shout out to that
Yeah.
man for doing so. Um, going through the bag, he continues with the G430 Max 15-degree 3 wood, the Mitsubishi Tensei 1K white 80 Touareg shaft. Also carries the 7 wood at 21 degrees. A little bit heavier shaft for that one. This one,
Hmm.
I mean, we've talked about Ping Woods left and right on this show. They're really good from the drivers. The 3 woods and hybrids tend to have a little more pop on them. The 7 wood becoming highly popular on the PGA Tour. A lot of folks just kind of opting for a little bit bigger head over the
Yeah.
hybrid. I didn't throw it in the slide, but he also occasionally switches in a Mizuno 225 utility iron as well. But it doesn't seem like he does that very often. It seems like he goes more often with the 3 wood, which we totally understand. Depending on course layout, how tight it is, are you going to need a lot of run out? You'll pull out that hot utility iron just in case. So
Facts.
I know you've been playing with that as well. So largely dependent on conditions. He does have a I-210 from Ping in the 4 iron with the True Temper Dynamic Gold Mid Tour issue X100s, and we'll see this kind of go throughout his iron lineup as well. What do you think about this random 4 iron in the bag?
Yeah. 210 is definitely one of the more forgiving player irons. A little bit more of a hollowed bodied iron head, but it's got some pop. I think for me, it wasn't, the best fit when I was in between and trying out clubs and, kind of deciphering what I wanted to go with. But it definitely has a great feel and it has a great launch category. So I can understand why he would do that. And of course, when you can dial it in and have a different shaft in there that really the tour only has. So I definitely think that he knows what he's doing with that. But it's crazy that it's a one off compared to what his other clubs are in the bag.
Right, right, right. We'll move down to his 5 through 9. He's rocking the Titleist 620 MBs, again with the same shaft that he had in that Ping, the Dynamic Gold Mid Tour issue
Hmm.
X100. I mean, there's not really much to say about this. It's a muscle back club from Titleist. It looks beautiful down by the ball. It's classic looks. Going to give you the thin top line. Feel like you can work it in any direction. You're not really
Yep.
looking for forgiveness in these clubs. You're looking for the ability for it to respond to your input, and that's what he's getting from it. So no
Yeah.
surprises there. This is a pretty common club on tour,
Oh
and
yeah.
Davis Thompson keeping up with that. Then he again couldn't find actuals on his wedges just because again Davis Thompson hadn't been really lighting it up here lately. So single, club here in his wedges, going with the specialty wedge, Titleist Voking design SM10, 46 degree, the F grind, Dynamic Gold Tour Issue X100. Again, keeping in line with his irons, that did not surprise me that he would have the same shaft in his pitching wedge. Any comment here?
Yeah, I mean, you'll see it more on the tour than anything when they don't have an actual pitching wedge or 10 way or 10 iron or whatnot. I I mean, I don't know if I've said it, but really, I think that's one of the coolest things that Callaway has done. The 10 iron is really, it just makes more sense. I don't know if it plays any difference, but as far as the verbiage and everything, I like that they have said that. But when you rock
Yeah,
Titleist, a lot of those guys, the pitch and wedge on sets is not playable enough. It's probably too strong lofted, so that's why they usually get just another Vokey wedge and just have it bent to a pitching wedge degree. I mean, you see it so many times where these guys have a 47 or a 48-degree pitching wedge, and it's just beyond unbelievable because why are you hitting a 48-degree wedge 145 and how are you doing it? I mean, like seriously, but
yeah,
um, it's still a really swell looking club, and I know that profile of the Vokey wedge still probably sits well in his mind and probably closely reminds him to a wedge to that 620 MB from the Titleist line. So I think that's probably
right.
why he did it, and it's a good club. I mean, there is no hate on Vokey ever from me.
No, not at all. Then we drop down again. He's still rocking the SM10s in his 50 degree as well. The Vogie
Hmm.
design wedge works in the 54 and 60, and he has moved to the Dynamic Gold Tour issue S400s, which we're not surprised by. We've been seeing that quite a bit, and that's not an uncommon choice to go with this heavier shaft in the wedges.
Yeah.
So yeah, yeah, I mean, I'm not saying that there's no surprises here in his bag. It's pretty predictable given what we've been seeing throughout the year, especially for people who play Titleist products, which you can't fault anybody. They make amazing irons and just clubs. Which I want to ask you something at the end of this one. I don't want to derail us, but it's about their new driver line. So again, no surprises in the wedges. From the putter perspective, which I said I was teasing that when we were playing this week, we were playing with the guy that was rocking the Odyssey Blade, and his distance control was primo, which I have been struggling with lately, and just kind of waiting on my putter. And I was just joking that I need to go get myself an Odyssey putter. So here we see him with the kind of it says OG. It's legitimately an OG design from Odyssey, the white hot OG number
Hmm.
sevens with the Super Stroke pistol GTR grip. What do you think about this? And I know you like this kind of style of putter. You've had similar versions, and it's the Ping, right? That was looking like this
Yeah.
that you
Yeah.
had.
Yeah. I still have it in the closet. It's very close to my hand just in case if the putter wants to act up and needs to be put in timeout. So it is always very close. I love the slant neck. I love the mallet design, and I always have loved the Odyssey putter insert. It's always a very soft, very compressed feel. I mean, it's nothing but greatness coming off that club face when you hit it out of the middle. I mean,
Yeah,
it it really provides the feedback that you need. So I think with the guy that we were playing out, shout out Javier. By the way, I mean, dude had a Stroke Labs, like he had the rendition with the half and half shaft where it was half iron, half graphite for stabilization and stuff like that. So, it was a few years older, so you probably caught it on a deal, but Odyssey and O Works definitely know what they're doing with putters and always near the top. They are either number
yeah,
one, number two, or number three as far as putters on tour. So they have figured it out.
Yep. And people are looking for forgiveness. We've been talking about that heavily this year, is that people are moving more
Yep,
and more away from bladed style putters. When you can infuse technology and some help on the putting greens where really the money is made, it seems like a no-brainer that you would see people trying to maximize that opportunity and not leave strokes on the green. So shout out to him for
absolutely.
being logical, right? Just
Right.
making good
Makes
decisions. And
sense.
this is a 2 year,
Yeah.
this version's about 2 years old, came out in about 2022. So, um, ball, pretty predictable. Pro V1, let's keep it moving. Nothing special there. Didn't want to do a special call out, kind of watching him play. This is where I was thinking about his comparisons to him and Scotty. Um,
Yeah.
minus the footwork, you might mistake the two. Um, Walking down the fairway, if you were just looking at the ankles, rocking the TW20s with the Nike logo, stripped down without all the TW stuff, even on the back tag here there's a Nike, and you can see that on the bottom of the foot as well, where there used to be the TW logo in red there. There's something about this shoe. People tend to, I've seen, when it's not a super attractive looking shoe, it's not a shoe that I have looked at and aesthetically said, this is a shoe that I would play in. But we've
Right.
seen Scotty rocking it for the better part of 3, 4 years. Um, Davis Thompson rocking this shoe. Uh, what's his name? Minwoo
Jake
Lee.
Knapp.
Uh, yeah, there's quite a few players that have found value in this shoe. So there's definitely, of course, with Tiger going through all the injuries that he was going through at the time, and them trying to design shoes for stability and him keeping him in health. There's definitely some tech in this shoe. What do you think about this shoe? You know anybody that's bought it? I've never played with anybody or seen anybody in real life playing with it outside of the tour.
Yeah, the homie Alex, who I play with, who I usually play my weekly rounds with, the member out at my course,
Uh,
he rocks them.
okay.
And he did it, I mean, he pretty much did it like Scotty and them. He bought the pairs and he is wearing each pair at a time until, the hit dogs holler. Whatever you want to say, he is wearing them things out until they are done and then moving on to that next one. And he said the same thing. He feels really comfortable in them. This is a model that really fits his shoe. I mean, his foot well. I mean, and that's what it is. I think if you have like a narrower foot and you're a little bit more athletic or whatever, I mean, I definitely think that's the shoe for you. Um, I mean, Scotty Scheffler had them put them back in production, and he pretty much wears out a pair of these in 2 weeks, they said. So they have mass
Wow.
produced Scotty a lot of these TW20s. But I mean, as you know, this is like the second most popular model. Of course, the first one was that wide body joint from 2013. Michael has a
Yeah.
pair of them. He loves it, and he loves his pair.
The
And
TW13s.
that's the TW13s, the wide
Yeah.
body, the wide body white ones, and yeah, he comes through all the time in those. So whatever they got going with TW, shout out to him for figuring it out feet
Well, they
wise.
they were good shoes. They're good quality. I had the original TW13s, and just this
Mm-hmm.
year, I had worn them earlier in the year, and finally, the glue ended up starting to separate. So I was like, okay, they're
Damn.
donezo. The toes started
Yeah.
giving out on me. So could I do some craftsmanship and you know cobbling to them? But yeah, it ain't worth all that. Um, and the interesting part about these TW20s is I went to the Nike website. Currently, they're not listed as available. So right now, it's just going to be exclusive to the Nike athletes that still want them. But
Mm-hmm.
currently, they're not available for public consumption unless you can get them from a third party vendor. But like I said, just interesting and notable when we see these. And Davis Thompson feels like there's value in these shoes, man.
Yeah,
Pull this
definitely.
down. So that's Davis Thompson winning this week at the John Deere Classic. Um, shout out to him getting his maiden victory, and just fun to go over somebody's new their bag. We've been, like I said, stuck on Scotty Scheffler for a little bit, so fun to cover another player. What I was going to ask you is, have you heard any feedback on the new GT line of Titleist drivers? Seeing them, quite a few players putting them in the bag here in recent weeks. Have you heard any feedback from them yet?
Yeah, my our lead pro, the AKA the co-owner I've told you about, Tim. He went through and did a bag fitting for the new woods and stuff like that. And dude has the TSI 3 in his bag until then, and he said night and day difference. Didn't like the TSR series, but is in love with the GT series. Everything that it did for him, helped
Hmm.
him out with loft. He plays a 9-degree driver, and had went up to a 10.5, but then settled on 10. But he said it's launching out of the same tunnel, but with better carry, better ball speed. And he's saying it's everything that you would want it to be. Then he said they put him in like pretty much a 4 wood because it's like 16 and a half or 17 degrees or something like that. And he
Hmm.
says, I mean, it's all carry, comes down floaty like as if it was a hybrid, but more distance than he had with his 13-degree TSI fairway wood. So again, technology is really, really doing its thing. And I mean, it's definitely going to be something that I'll look into. It's really enticing because I love my G410 wood and I love my G410 hybrid. But if the numbers are true as they're saying, then I mean, it's definitely time to upgrade. Those clubs are definitely old. It's something that, would reinvigorate me to get out there and want to hit it more. I mean, as we talked about, I didn't really get to use my 3 wood a lot, just an in between distance for me. But
Yeah,
everybody loves, I mean, any golfer would tell you there's nothing better feeling than striping a 3 wood or striping a long iron. And a 3 wood is second to none because the flight on it, the sound, and that's off the tee, off the ground. I mean, and it's so hard to find one that is, versatile enough to be really good on both. So it's
yeah.
a hard club to replace once you find you a good one. So the way he's talking, where he just instantly replaced it with that new 3 wood or 4 wood, my apologies, or 4 wood loft essentially. I think it's going to be a
So he
good
hadn't
show for him,
changed.
and I think it's going to be good.
So he hadn't changed driver. He just went with the four wood.
He did the driver too. No, no, no. He did the driver
Okay,
too. He got both of
okay,
them ordered, but
okay.
probably
So they
he said
haven't
it's going to be a
just
couple
on
weeks.
on the fit. He hadn't gotten
Yeah,
got him in yet to actually play it, and it's hard to tell. I don't think there's been a lot of comparison coverage like with side by side, but I don't know. To me, from the visuals I've seen of the GT lineup, the face presents a little bit bigger, and that doesn't necessarily mean
yeah,
that it is. It just maybe the framing of it, something about it looks like that face is more welcoming, especially if you're maybe struggling with confidence with the driver. It just feels like there's more
agreed.
of a surface to hit. So, like I said, maybe it's all visual and something that they've done with the centering of that faceplate and kind of the middle part of the club, but looks very forgiving. And like I said, when pros adopt it, you've never seen Titleist come out with just a bad lineup of drivers. So, I mean,
True.
we're not surprised by that. But they just continue to upgrade their equipment and make it better, every couple of cycles that they come out. It was something that you mentioned in that "What's in the Bag." That rings very true. I heard some interview with Billy Horschel today, just kind of a clip on Instagram, him talking about what he would change. He's not in favor of the ball rollback. Just really was advocating for actually more punishment with the driver. He's like, guys can just kind of rear back and hit whatever, and the misses are very small compared to what they used to be with some of the
Yeah,
club technology that we have. That it's hard to miss really far right or left, either way, right? You can make a
yeah.
lot of mistakes, and there's forgiveness built in
Especially at those
throughout the
speeds.
club. Correct. So he was just advocating for, changes to a smaller driver, smaller sweet spots, things like that to help
Yeah,
adjust for the athleticism. He's like, hey, man, the truth is athletes are better. We are training more, we're faster than ever. The ability to know what your numbers are and optimize for your numbers that you're personally putting out versus the eye test, which is super flawed.
yeah,
So he was really just saying, we don't need to touch the ball. There's other things, as we've also said, amongst changing the driver, changing course design from a rough standpoint, mowing fairways backwards. There's quite a few things that can be done outside of fiddling with the ball. So
yeah.
Billy Horschel's on that track too. I think I'm okay. I'm up. When it comes to Crystal question, when getting a club fitting, what company do you each recommend? I'll start with this. To me, and I'm an advocate for finding a local fitter in your area, somebody
Yep.
who is not a chain. I I've done a number of videos. One of my first videos that popped off was about a company called TXG, which later merged with a larger company, Club Champion. They're huge everywhere where golf is popular. So I'm sure you're, Crystal, you've driven by one of those, or maybe there's a Dick's Sporting Goods or Golf Galaxy, PJ Superstore. I'm not a fan of the big box model of fitting. I'm much more finding a local fitter, someone that can get you in the store as a little more personalized. That's been my experience and where I've experienced the best fittings. I did get my hybrid fitting done at Dick's Sporting Goods, and I ended up having to change fitters because the other guy just actually treated me like crap. And the guy kind of was watching, stepped in, and took over. So I just think when you have a private company, you have a little bit more intimacy and a relationship that you can build with them. And my last fitting for my driver, they let me take the driver out for a spin for a month and get it out on course. Was really realistic about that. He's like, look, what you're seeing on the simulator and a monitor may be very different when you actually hit the course. And it was. And so
Nice.
we were able to make some adjustments, change the shafts, lie, not lie, but yeah, actually the lie. I went from like upright kind of standard to flat, made all the difference. So that's my recommendation. What do you think, Marcus?
Agree wholeheartedly. I mean, it's just nowadays there's so much golf out there that they just want people in spaces, and it's not necessarily the most personable thing. Um, Really, honestly, Crystal, if you have, or anybody really listening, if you belong to a club, or if you frequent a club, find the pro. Find the pro. The pro still, although they're really keen on giving you lessons, they're going to be able to fit you to clubs that they see are going to be good for you. So you might end up having an extra hybrid in the bag, or you might end up having one less longer club and one more short club for around the green to help you out with. But again, just like what Rod said, it's an intimate situation to where they're going to be a little bit more flexible with the product that they have you tested. I mean, when you go to a Golf Galaxy, you're going to be hidden in the bay. They're just going to say, all right, try this one out. And they're going to be looking down at the club head. They're going to be looking at the numbers. They're not going to be asking you any questions. They're not going to be sitting there trying to help you out a little bit at the time with your swing or anything like that, get you in a better position or anything like that. A lot of times, what they're trying to do is expeditiously get you in some clubs, get a commission, and send you out the door. Then if they do it wrong, so be it. Come on back. We'll charge you some more, get you in a different club, get you in a different fitting, and try it all over again. Instead of, hey, I'm kind of on the fence. All right, well, come on in. We'll get you swinging, see what you got, see if it works. If not, come on back. We'll see what we can do. And a lot of the times, the mom and pop person is going to be really looking after the user, because I feel like a lot of the times you'll use it. Okay, you have a honeymoon phase. It feels really good. Then after that, what are we going to do? how am I going to fix this problem? What am I going to do to conquer this problem? And the big fitter is not going to have an issue or is not going to have a solution for you. They're just going to be like, come on back, we'll get you a different club. And you're going to be out of another $300 or $450 if they charge you for the
Right.
fitting again. But if you go
Right.
to,
You're
like he
not
was
necessarily
saying,
fixing the issue.
right, they're not fixing the issue. They're just going through the process again. But like Rod was saying, if you go to, a mom and pop shop like Dallas Golf, they'll be able to get you in something, have you try it out, get it acclimated to you, take it out on the course, get past that phase, and then really be able to see what you're going to do with that. So as much as you can, try to find you a home club with a good pro, get you a relationship, and they'll be able to square you up a lot better than, a Golf Galaxy, unfortunately, or like a Club Champion, or even a Golf Tech. A Golf Tech is really more lesson based and not going to really necessarily have the best quality clubs all the time.
Yeah.
All the
A
time.
lot of turnover at
Some,
Golf Tech.
yeah,
A
exactly.
lot of turnover there. So it's corporate too. Um, but yeah, I mean, I think getting fit, and we've talked about this numerous times, getting fit will shave strokes off of your game, no matter where
Easily.
you are in your development. And, whether I think there's different phases of your golf game that you will need to start adjusting your clubs, right? So I have no beef with somebody grabbing some secondhand clubs, something from a thrift store just to get started, get out there
Yep.
swinging. You're going to catch some, good ones here and there, keep you coming back. And then as your game progresses, getting lessons, or as we've recommended as well, find a YouTuber that gives lessons online, one person, one voice, stick with that
Yep.
person so the language and the verbiage is the same all the time. I'm a longtime watcher of Mark Crossfield. He's one of the OGs of YouTube golf, and I've followed him since he was around at the beginning.
100%.
And I
Yep.
like his verbiage. There's other people, and there's different voices for everybody. But yeah, get fit. I will tell you from over the last couple of years, getting fit for irons, getting fit for woods. I have stripped off 7 strokes off of my game, and that's not really with a lot of changes with my swing. That is just simply finding clubs that fit me best, and I was able to optimize my numbers, particularly with irons where I was losing a lot of strokes, getting in fairways but not being able to hit the greens and correspond with that. So fitting, virtual stuff. So that's cool. This is awesome. I follow Coach Cheyenne. She's in Canada. Interesting. I'm about to look her up. I haven't heard that name before. But there are a ton of good coaches on YouTube, really spreading a lot of knowledge. It's come along in the last handful of years. So cool, man. PGA Tour. That's really it. Other than next week, do want to talk about the kind of co-sanctioned Scottish Open that's happening next week. Rory McIlroy defending his first time back out on the course for since the U.S. Open and him needing to step away, pulled out of the event the following week after the U.S. Open. Quite a few names. We're going to see Max Homa, Jordan Spieth, Justin Thomas. Um, who else am I forgetting? Quite a few names. It's become a good tune-up tournament
Yeah.
for a lot of players to get used to link style golf. I really enjoy it just because you're going to catch it mid morning just because of the Scottish time. You get to see a lot of the tournament and not have to stretch and strain to see it, and it is always really a good finish. What do you think about the Scottish Open?
Yeah, same thing. I mean, different change of scenery, change of venue, things we don't usually see on the day in, day out. So, I mean, similar to match play, just something that refreshes the senses and something that you really like to see. And I'm always down for link style golf because it forces you to hit shots. Not always
Yeah.
fun playing in it, but watching somebody else play in it is always going to be fun. So you really get to see a lot of shots. You really get to see the penalization between the different grasses. So yeah, keeping the ball in the air isn't always going to be the right thing to do unless you're hitting it solidly. Shout out Roy for that. I mean, but yeah, a lot of these guys know how to change trajectory, play a lower flight, and still be able to control it. So I think we'll be able to see some really good golf. And just like you said, it's a really good tune-up for the Open that'll be that week past it. So yeah, I think it's going to be really good scenes, and unfortunately, they're probably going to hound Rory the first part of the week or Tuesday. Well, how was the break? How is everything? How's the game feel? Did you work on anything? La da 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 da. So
Yeah.
we're going to have some really intrusive interviews, and it's not just going to be Rory. It'll probably be just JT. How's the game feeling? Do you feel like you can win still? Is any of this stuff making sense to you? Like, I mean, it's definitely going to be like that. Do you think you
I
have? I
know
mean,
it's been a rough
uh,
year for Justin Thomas. It's been a rough 2 years.
it
Let's
really
keep it
is.
real.
It's been a rough 2 years. It's been a rough 2 years, but
And
there's still plenty of golf to play.
yeah, even Jordan Spieth. When you think you're seeing flashes of old Jordan, he's just not been able to capture that magic. And
Yeah,
I don't know if it's the fun element has left his game. He just doesn't look to be in like that youthful kid that we saw when he first came out. Um,
yeah,
it just felt like he was a lot more unleashed. And I feel like we have this overthinker, and the whole commentary with him and Michael Breller does tend to get a little bit exhausting. 4 rounds into the weekend, where it's just a lot of
yeah,
back and forth, a lot of questioning, a lot of the second guessing after the result, which you can't really do that
yeah.
on
The
every
assuring
single
and
shot.
reassuring.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So it'll be interesting. Royal, we'll see if there's even questions about the marriage, because we haven't really touched on that, hasn't really been addressed since the whole kind of dropping of the divorce petition. So he's probably going to get a myriad of questions happening this coming week.
hopefully he drops a
Um,
statement prior to it. I think that kind of nips the stuff in the bud. All he needs to do
yeah,
is post something on the story real quick. 40,000 people are going to screenshot it and be like, look what Rory said. I mean, all he got to say is, hey, me and Erica are really working through things. We've done the work behind the scenes type stuff. And then, but leave us to our privacy. Thank you. Boom, 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 boom.
yeah,
And then somebody's going to ask the question on Tuesday. And he's going to be like I said prior in my Instagram social media, we're working through some things, but I would appreciate it if if we kept the questions golf related, or
yeah,
stuff like that. So I think there's ways to divert that attention. And Rory has been one of the great interviews of the last decade or so, with his openness, and then with his ability to really answer questions honestly and thoroughly. And it always feels like he's got his thoughts together, at least when it comes to answering questions. Maybe not so much always the questions when it comes to his game, but
right.
everything else, he's got his ducks in a row. So shout out to him for the maturity to know what to say, when to say it, and pretty much always how to say it. I mean, you ain't gonna see Rory in the media talking about some drama, or he might. I mean, the only drama that he's been in is the divorce, but he's
Right.
not getting
I think he's
involved in
just very.
players. Go
I
ahead.
think
I'm
he's
sorry.
just very in tune with him. No, I think he's very in tune with himself, and that's why
Yes.
he's largely always on target. And the message seems comprehensive because he's thought about
Right.
things. There's not a lot of just off the cuff responses, and shout out to him for being as
Thousand
introspective
percent.
as we've seen,
Yeah.
and the ability to change an opinion when you find out new information. I think that's a wonderful compliment to being a quality human being, is that you don't just stick with old information and dig your heels in once you find out new stuff, or you get a different perspective, or someone shares their perspective with you, and the ability to be empathetic about it and have a shift in your mindset. So
Yeah.
shout out to him
We have
for
a
being able
video.
to do that.
We have a video out on that as well. Just a FYI, we do have a video out on that. Just so y'all know.
Yep. Always.
Crystal has replied in our comments. This is the actual name of the coach that she is going with. Just so you know.
Yep. And it looks like she's actually got quite a bit of content out there. I looked up her page.
Perfect.
I'll pull it up here. Let's show my screen. Present video file. Nope, not that one. So yeah, she is actually got quite a bit of content out there. It looks like she's got 257 videos out there. So not
Okay.
not short on the content at all. Um, talks a
Love
little
that.
bit of. I like it. I like it.
I
Pretty
will delve
pretty
into that as well.
consistent. Yeah, just to get a different view. Like I said, Mark Crossfield might not make content forever, so I might need to find some alternate options.
For
Um,
sure, brother.
so one thing that I shared with you earlier in the week, just via Instagram, just because they're becoming so prominent, is fights on the golf course. Um, I feel like I've gotten a little bit better. I do have an older video about etiquette and how a group hitting into us for me and the guys I was playing with, hitting into me first, and then trying to skip ahead, only to realize that we were keeping up with the group in front of us and almost causing a fight in front of a kid. So I've talked about this before. I never had a fight on the golf course. Been close a couple times, just because when you think about what causes potential conflicts is alcohol on the golf course, a lack of etiquette, and just generally being a crappy person. I've seen music cause conflicts as well. With some people
Hmm.
like music on the course, some people hate it, and people that will blare their music. So I put together a quick little short clip, might be a little over a minute, of three separate viral fights, and the last one I had to strip the audio because it had a copyrighted song on it. But it involves women, so we're extending it to women now. So I'm gonna play this clip.
You come up on me, that's what's gonna happen.
Shit, a ball head dude. It's like, stay down, bro.
This is in front of the clubhouse.
Oh my god.
Fucking stop! You guys retarded? You're attacking the fucking guys who work
Blue
here.
shirt is either concussed or drunk.
In front of the groundskeeper. Mm, mm. It's wild, bro. I mean, I
It's
know you
it's
sent me
super
this
wild.
already, but it's still wild, bro. Like, oh, I feel like
Just to see,
me and Rod together, it would, it wouldn't be us creating the fight, but we would be willing to fight. Like
if
like if you come
if
at us
need be,
wrong,
right?
if need be, right?
Right.
If somebody came at us crazy, me and Rod would lay the law down, and I would feel very trustworthy if Rod had my back. Um, but yeah, in situations like that, man, it's just I'm not saying cooler heads got to prevail because you never know what really started it, and of course, the extracurriculars are always going to be, an issue with why that happened. But I don't know. The when you brought up the music thing, I get it. Sometimes you come out to play golf, you want peace and quiet, you want to concentrate, you want to have fun that way. And some guys are locked in that way. And I don't mind it. I don't mind no music. Me personally, when we go out and play, that's why I ask you, how you feeling? Is music cool? You usually let me know it's cool, blah, 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 blah. But I always check and, always keep it at a decent level. Have I, or have I been loud? What do you think, Rob? Be honest.
I think it's subjective, right? Because there's certain
Yeah.
days, like sound wise, there's something in me that I'm like, I just want to hear. like it just be background, kind of a low humming, not really where I can even hear it or understand it. So I'm
Mm,
I've come around to it just because I play with a bunch of people that play music. But then again, music is so personal that what you like is rarely what somebody else is likes or whatever.
very
I think
true.
the only universal kind of music that goes over well is like 90s R&B and hip hop. Pretty much
Yeah,
I've seen different graphics play that and everybody's kind of cool with that. Everything else that's maybe a little more modern or you bring it forward, it can get kind of dicey, right? Whether somebody else is gonna be filling your playlist or not. So
very
I don't
true.
know. It's dicey. And again, this is also within your own group, it's pretty tame, right? But it's like when someone's
Yeah,
pulling up behind you on a tee box, and or there's tee boxes that are adjacent to each other, and they're just
right.
not
You're
respectful of other people.
facts. You're teeing off. They're on the green. Like, bro, if we're green side or something like that, it's cool. Turn it down. It's fine. What, like, bro? We're out in the middle of the fairway or something like that. It's cool. Keep it on the low. I mean, the only time that we really have like amongst my regular group is sometimes we have it a little bit loud, but you know when we play. If y'all aren't familiar, I probably have said it multiple times, but me and my group, when we go out to play, we're first off, second off at my home club in Houston, and there's not a lot of people in front of us. There's not a lot of people around us, pretty much on the course in general. So, we're a little bit more rambunctious about it, and I guess the levels could be a little bit quieter and stuff like that. And we have an eclectic taste. Sometimes I got the hip hop going. Sometimes the fellas got the EDM going, and I'm always down for house music. I don't mind anything that you play as long as there's a nice little rhythm to it. Anything but country to me is a okay on the course, and yeah, I feel like I never have to have that. I feel like I never have to have the issue of dealing with somebody hitting into me because we play so quickly and we play so early. So I'm very much at odds with people that get into fights about getting hit into and the etiquette and stuff like that because I don't. That's not a problem I
Yeah,
see, especially on the daily.
you're
Like,
just not yeah, you're not playing conditions that really are conducive to that. However, if you're,
yeah,
weekends, Fridays and DFW starts kind of the weekend golf, you can have some tighter tee times, where that may
yeah, for
occur
sure.
and people get impatient. It's getting hot. I think the thing that also kind of starts some of the conflict is the language gets super spicy on the golf course really quick when people go at it. You just mix
Yeah,
in a
true.
few alcoholic drinks and the words start flying
Mm,
pretty quickly. And I can say being in that position, it happened for me. And I don't even think I was I don't typically drink anything on the course. I like focusing in playing the game, but
yeah, same.
again, I'm out there for peace. And when you disturb that peace, I get a little bit irritated. So I don't know. It's just that, you always have to ask yourself when it's 2024, are we seeing more of it because everyone has a camera in their pocket and they're ready to go viral? And as soon as you hear people yelling, you pull out the phone and you're recording. I kind of am like, it's a little bit of that, but phone cameras have been around for quite some time as well, um,
Yeah, true.
and the ability to upload it somewhere. Or are people just, is it the same deterioration that we're kind of seeing day to day in society where people are impatient? They are tired of each other. The civility seems to be failing. I think there's a little bit of both of those factors playing into it,
Yeah,
and why we're seeing so many. I want to say over the last 3 to 4 years, the videos have exploded where almost on a weekly basis you're seeing some viral video of people going at it full fist club. That's oh god, clubs. People throwing clubs at each other and hitting each other with golf clubs. It
yeah.
gets super ugly super fast, and I don't know. I just there's a contingent of people out there like grow the game. I'm like shrink the game. Please.
Yeah.
You're getting some uncouth people in here.
Yeah. I think also we've probably had this discussion too, just off cam, but everybody thinks they have an opinion on something, or everybody thinks they're a little bit more important or a little bit more valuable than they really are. And they think there's like some type of battle or hierarchy when it comes to it, instead of everybody's just trying to get out there and play golf the same as you. So I think that's also a point of that, because I don't know. I'm not reaching for my phone if we got beef, bro. I look. I don't know what to
No,
tell
no,
you, bro.
it's always some rando recording from a couple of holes over or something. So let
And
me ask you
even
a
then,
question
I'm
because it
like,
just
bro,
popped in.
mind your business.
Yeah, let me ask you a
God
question
bless.
though. What is the scenario? Because it popped in my brain as something that does piss me off and will cause me to say something every time. But what's the scenario out on the golf course that if the group in front of you is doing it or someone around you is doing it, that would cause you to speak up and say something to
Um, man, I don't know, bro. Like, I feel like pace of play is
them?
really the only beef with me. And
Okay,
old men really think that they are playing faster than they really are. And you know, pace at our course is, you know, pretty generous. Between 4:15 and 4:30 is an expected round. But again, when you're one of the first 3 or 4 tee times out, you're setting your own pace, right? If I'm
yeah,
setting my own pace and we're playing, like for instance, a lot of times the marshals go out in front of us, no problem. That's, when we try to direct them to play, that's the best time for them to play, especially because sometimes it'll be 8 of them, sometimes it'll be a group. Y'all do y'all's thing, no problem. But when it comes to awareness with that type of deal, that's what kills me. If you're playing four, cool. If we're playing four, cool. But if our foursome is pressed up on you every box and every fairway, and we are in cane position, hanging out on the tee box waiting for y'all, there's nothing wrong with setting your pride aside, letting us play through, and you still playing in your 4 hour pace, and we play at our 3.5 hour pace or 3:15 pace
right.
that we're going to pay at regularly because they know us. So honestly, my beef is more with familiarity. If I know you and you know me and you know what you're expecting out of us, which is efficient golf, quick golf,
Yeah,
good golf,
that's super niche
move
though,
out of the
man.
way. That's what I'm saying.
That's what
It's
that's what I was that's what I was telling you. You got to get out of your home course sometimes. And spirits is real, real. So the one that popped in my head that I will say something if I experience it on the golf course and a group in front of me is playing multiple balls at every part of the course, right? So taking multiples off the tee box, hitting multiples out of the middle of the fairway if you shank it or have a undesired result. I am going to speak up and say something like, "Hey, you gotta you gotta keep playing, especially off the tee box. When everybody in your group is taking two, that gets a little bit crazy." And I experienced that actually a couple weeks ago in Myrtle Beach. I was getting matched up. I was the only, put there by myself, so I was often playing with strangers. And this particular group, I was playing with a really nice older gentleman that was from North Carolina, or yeah, he was originally from Charlotte, North Carolina, moved to Myrtle Beach in the '70s, and then another guy that was like from New Jersey originally, and then lived in Philly. So super aggressive. And there were these three guys that ended up the way Myrtle Beach runs tee times. They'll start off simultaneously on 9, or excuse me, 10 and number one, and then you cross over at some point, especially in the early morning in the summer, just to keep people out of the heat as much as possible. So we ended up crossing over with these three guys that one was actually pretty decent, the other two were straight garbage. And for the first 5 holes, the two garbage guys took 2 to 3 balls off of every tee box. So at a certain point, the guy from Philly was like sincerely about to lose his crap. And this happened it happened so often that we ended up really just kind of every tee box, we were pulling up right beside him and making, and finally enough didn't require a conversation. They were uncomfortable enough to just play it straight up and kind of scramble drill and go drop next to the one that had a decent drive out in the fairway. But that's the one that gets at me is awareness, which most of these golf violations are. It's just a lack of consideration and awareness, but also, just not giving a damn about what somebody else feels. You have to be kind to other people and on the golf course, not just out in the world. So anyway, we could go on all day about violations of etiquette and a-hole behavior that we've seen out here in the golf world. Um, quick mention. So the Amundi Evian Championship for the ladies, the women are coming up next week. Celine Boutier is the defending champion, native of France, won in her home country last year. Not exactly having a great year this year. I think her best finish is a second place, solo second, and that was way back in February. Um, we've seen Nelly Corda struggle as of late, but we've seen Lilia Vu make a resurgence here in the last handful of weeks after returning from injury. Who would you call? Who would you place odds on? Um, let's just say top five. Who do you think has a really good chance coming in to secure a top five in the Evian?
Lilia Vu. Out
Fair.
of those three, Lilia Vu. I mean,
Anybody else? My sleeper would be, gosh, what's the Australian girl that we've been talking about all year?
Hannah
Hannah
Green.
Green. She's a sleeper for
Yeah, I don't
me.
know if she's
I think
got it
she's
on the
been playing
greens
really
though. I
solid
mean,
golf.
they're mountain golf with those slopey greens that they have out there in France. I don't know. She's really got to bring that
Yeah.
putter. She's really got to bring that putter, and I don't know if she's got it. I mean, sleeper wise, I would say like you gotta. I mean, Rosang, we talked about it. She's an Olympian in her second season. Just I don't know
Hold
what to
on.
even say.
I know. Sorry, I'm gonna pull this comment up in a second, Crystal. But yes, that made me laugh. I like Rosang. I think the confidence from making the Olympic team um, is, I think, confidence inspiring. It takes you to a
Yeah,
different level, and for her to be doing this all very young, I agree with that one. But I think I don't know, man. We're getting a treat of golf next week with them playing in France, and then in their major, and then we're seeing the Scottish Open next to it. So I'm just excited to have some meaningful golf back next week, and
yeah,
then well, really 2 weeks in a row because then the Open following that. So we're winning. I mean, we're closing out the end of the year, but we're closing it out with some really strong golf. Um, I
definitely.
missed this when you put it up. Aggressive because of NJ, nor New Jersey or Philly, both. I have experienced both people, New Jersey folks, and Philadelphians. Both of them. It's just that East Coast, just aggressiveness. I like it because it's always straightforward. There's no muss, no fuss, no BS. You're gonna get it straight. But the anger, not you, Crystal. You're the exception. But I'm saying my experience with the East Coast has been very very rough. But again, there's different flavors of people that if you grew up around it, it's old hat. You're not worried about it at all. But as a southerner, it feels aggressive. So we just move at a different pace. Couple of live stories I wanted to touch on before we wrapped up, but I wasn't able to put it in video. But Richard Bland, who has won two senior majors this year, um, came out with a quote this week. He said, I joined Live and it was purely for the money. I know people have been slated saying it's growing the game. I purely went for one thing and one thing only. And I'm not ashamed to say that. I had the opportunity to make my life, my family's life, and whatever we do as a family a lot easier. So I say it was a no-brainer. And I respect that, man. I think, the thing that I attached to this image was age brings a certain level of honesty where, we've seen that in our mother. You just lose the filter over time and you just kind of say what you want to, what comes to you, right? Without
Hmm.
putting a filter on it. And I feel like this is what that was. He's not into the marketing propaganda with Liv. He's just like, dude, this was going to better my life. I was doing okay on the DP World Tour. We saw him playing decently there, but we know the purses are not as big, and it's not like he was winning
Yeah,
profusively there.
this
So
already guaranteed money.
go, yeah, go to Live. It seems like it's invigorated his game. Enabled him to go win on the senior tour. I don't know. This is something I have to bring up. It's something we'll have to bring up later here. What do you think about this honesty from him?
Yeah, I mean, this is probably like the sixth time we've talked about this, like this whole rationale. Just come out and say it, bro. You want the bread.
Yeah,
That is fine, bro. Like that is okay. It's when you beat around the bush and give us bullshit answers that it really becomes like, what's going on? What's the real motive behind it? Lee Westwood, Ian Poulter, all them guys is 48, 50 plus. Lee Westwood competed in the last the US Open, the senior US Open. Is bro, there's nothing wrong with going for the money. If you know you're almost done with your playing career and you know that that's all you've done your life and you don't plan on getting into another career, investing in any of these companies to further my life or, do something post golf, you want to relax and enjoy your kids, enjoy your wife, enjoy the time, then yeah, there's nothing wrong with you taking the bread. So I'm all for it. He didn't even need to say it because you
right.
were a nobody already. So when you come out, I don't even know how he qualified for these events, to be honest. But man,
That's what I'm sitting. As soon as I said it out of my brain, out of my mouth, I'm thinking. So he's able to get
what did he
in,
do?
but
Right? Is it just because he's
but Phil
50 or
Mickelson, yeah, but Phil Mickelson could like. Why is he not? Is he not trying or attempting to qualify for these? Especially for the opens, right? So I think that excludes
right?
the opens exclude him from any other bands, right? So it's outside of a PGA Tour sanctioned deal. So he couldn't necessarily play on
The
a
USGA.
champions. Yep.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
you couldn't play on Champions Tour, but USGA, he's full on allowed. There is no bans on that. So I don't take Phil as a prideful guy that wouldn't go through the quals to go to it. I think he would go through the qualifications or the little lead up to see if he can, make the number. I would say one thing Phil wants to do, he still wants to play golf. I will give him that. I
Yeah.
will commend him on that. So it's not an issue of if he wants to play or not. It's a matter of what's happening and why he can't. Now,
Yeah.
that might be a behind the scenes thing. Again, it might be with some of these, again, just like we had Rory, who knows how to answer questions. Phil, not so much. He might have said some behind the scenes. They might be holding them, just like we said. You never know what the PGA is doing behind the scenes. You never know.
Yeah.
So he might have said something, and they was like, "All right, bro, until you renege on whatever you said, you know, you have fun over
Yeah. I
there
mean,
with them live
he
boys.
was
We
at
ain't
the
got nothing for you over
genesis.
here."
Yeah, he was at the genesis of this defection, right? And almost
Right.
early on tanked the whole thing with his comments and kind of his loose mouth. Like you said, he's the complete antithesis of Rory, not able to gracefully move through situations. Feels a more of a wrecking ball and just
Yeah.
kind of just goes in there. and throws stuff against the wall and see what crumbles and happens as a result of it. So yeah, I wouldn't doubt. I don't know. Of course, Phil doesn't. Even though I don't think he's one to save face, right? Although he loves the game of golf, really is passionate about teaching it, has done a lot for younger players. I just think when it comes to like the organizational structure, that he has shown that he's not willing to play ball and do
Yeah,
things that are, just that would allow him to play. But it's very interesting that Bland has done that, qualified, and won two senior majors as a result of that. And like I said,
yeah,
seems to be playing probably the best golf of his life and taking advantage of it. And here he is. He's financially set at this point. So shout out to him for being able to put in the work early in his career where Liv was even willing to take him on as a kind of even a second tier DP World Tour player at the time, which is
yeah.
crazy. But hey, they needed bodies. Um, just because I'm not even going to mention this Patrick Reed story. So, um, whatever. I'm just not interested in talking about Patrick Reed. So, bro, anything else that is on your mind this week since we've taken our hiatus, and anything else that you want to talk about?
Mm, no, not really. I mean, it was a good week of golf. I
Yeah, it's
mean, I
not been.
enjoyed playing with Rod and his group. Rod clipped me. He really showed me what was up. On
On
Wednesday.
the
Um,
Yeah,
yeah, Friday
competed on
was
the
really
second
like
day.
yeah, Friday was really like our most balanced day, and then Saturday neither really one of
It
us
was
had
bad.
it, but
It was
yeah,
bad
it
golf.
was just
It was
it
just
was
not good.
ugly. We had
Yeah,
such a
up
good
and
weather
down.
day Friday, even with the wind. Hey, listen, you know what? Yeah, Fort Worth golf. Fort Worth, the city is trash, but Fort Worth golf is very much so on the up and up. Y'all, if you're in the
Yeah.
area of Fort Worth, Arlington, Mansfield, 287, 820, 360, that area, y'all got a lot of courses that y'all need to go out there and see if y'all just are out there just venturing to one or two. There is so much good golf that is conveniently priced and very much so really good conditions. Tree line parkland courses, link style courses, water, non-watered, green grass, greens in order. I mean, there is so many good things to be said about Fort Worth, Arlington, and like 817 area code golf. I will for
You
sure
literally
say that 100%.
co-sign that. Let me name off some courses just in case anybody's interested. So Sleeper is Mansfield National. It's a little bit further out, always in good condition. Tee
Yes,
times readily
really good.
available, super cheap. Um, Tierra Verde, which is a City of Arlington course. Another one is, I'm forgetting the one that we played with Uncle Al. Slipping my brain right now, but always
Fossil Creek.
Tangle Ridge, Fossil Creek, always in good shape as well. It's a private course, part of the ARSIS system. We played Rockwood, which is a City of Fort Worth course. They're redoing a course called Meadowbrook, which they say is going to look as good as Rockwood when it's done. Water Chase. There's so much good golf west of I-35 in Dallas that it's kind of ridiculous.
Yep.
I've been saying they've been putting Dallas area golf to shame, which really the only competitor I would say quality wise through and through is Tennyson Highlands. From a
Yeah.
public standpoint in Dallas,
Public. Yeah.
public, not the private stuff that's available in Dallas. There's a lot of good private courses in Dallas, but from a public standpoint, nobody's messing with Fort Worth, Arlington. It's ridiculous. I've been finding myself driving an hour for some good golf here
Don't
lately,
even
and it's
mind
more than worth
it.
it.
Don't even mind the drive right now. Seriously.
Not one bit, not one bit. So a lot of good stuff if you're
Mm-mm.
ever in the DFW area or if you are in DFW looking to venture out and see get some more golf in. So yeah, we're gonna have a lot to talk about next week. It's been a slow couple of weeks and just want to get back to it and bring this content as we have been doing weekly. Again, celebrating the 42nd birthday, feeling like an old man, but happy to be alive, have family that I love and enjoy. Got a lot of family time in these last couple of weeks, so my cup is filled and I'm a happy person. So, Bearded Rose Golf Show. We'll be back at it again next week. I'm Rod.
And I'm Marcus.
Peace out, y'all.